The Bell Witch is a famous American haunting legend dating to the early 1800s in northwestern Tennessee. In 1804, John Bell, Sr., a prosperous farmer from North Carolina, settled with his wife Lucy and their children on the Red River in what is now Adams, Robertson County. According to tradition, John bought adjoining land from neighbor Old Kate Batts, who accused him of cheating her. On her deathbed, Batts allegedly swore to haunt Bell's family to their graves. By the summer of 1817, the Bell family began reporting eerie events. That fall, John Bell claimed to see a strange animal in his fields and shot at it. His children then observed odd apparitions. Son Drew saw an enormous bird, and daughter Betsy, aged 12, saw a girl in a green dress hanging from a tree. Within weeks, the phenomena moved inside the Bell home. Mysterious knocks, rattling chains, and the sound of animals scratching at the beds. Unseen forces tore bedclothes off the sleepers and moved furniture overnight. The family soon began hearing a disembodied female voice in their house. The spirit, eventually called Kate, could speak long conversations and even mimic voices. For example, it spoke to Betsy like a young girl and later answered questions about the family. Over the next few years, the entity, often called the Bell Witch, tormented the Bell family in various ways. It chiefly targeted John Bell and daughter Betsy. It bit, slapped, pinched, and prodded them with invisible hands and pins, sometimes knocking Betsy unconscious. By contrast, the spirit was said to be friendly to Lucy Bell, bringing her fruit and singing hymns to her. Visitors reported that the spirit knew Bible verses and local gossip. It once recited sermons heard miles away and even appeared to travel instantly between distant houses. The entity, named Kate, came from its own claim to be Old Kate Batts' witch, and it readily answered to that name. The legend says it repeatedly warned Betsy not to marry her suitor Joshua Gardner, and one chronicler adds that Gardner eventually fled the state in fear. Throughout the haunting, neighbors and visitors flocked to the Bell farm to witness the phenomena. Goodspeed, 1886. History of Tennessee notes that people came from hundreds of miles around to see the Paakwebata freaks, designed to annoy the family. Even General Andrew Jackson, later president, is said in the lore to have spent a night at the Bell home with soldiers trying to confront the spirit. Eventually, the Bell Witch's vendetta against John Bell reached its climax. In December 1820, John fell mysteriously ill. His sons found by his bedside a vial of dark liquid, at which the spirit ominously crowed that it had poisoned him. John Bell died the next morning, December 20th, 1820. According to the tale, after Bell's death, the witch largely ceased haunting the family. The Bell family were real historical figures, and their story has been chronicled in local histories. John and Lucy Bell had 6 children. Names sometimes given include Betsy, Drew, Richard, William, etc. The supposed spirit was eventually nicknamed Kate, though eyewitness accounts never saw a witch. It was an invisible presence. Neighbors like Kate Batts were suspected in rumor, but the legend ultimately frames the phenomena as supernatural. Ingram's 1894 book, for example, implies the Bell Witch was the ghost of Kate Batts, even as the entity in the story at times denied any human origin. Historian Richard Bell, John's son, was later said to have written notes on the haunting. Many locals claimed to witness or experience aspects of the haunting. Neighbors camped on the Bell farm hoping to see the spirit, and guests were often awakened at night by the same noises that plagued the Bells. One friend, James Johnston, heard the noises and later told John that it was a spirit just like in the Bible. Even traveling preachers passing by were startled by cries from the cabin walls. Eventually, the events became widely known around Middle Tennessee. As a contemporary history notes, it was supposed to be some spiritual being having the voice and attributes of a woman, invisible yet interacting, holding conversations, shaking hands, with certain people. The Bell Witch story was passed down orally until the late 19th century. One early printed mention appears in the 1886 Goodspeed History of Tennessee, which describes how the Bell family story drew crowds from hundreds of miles around to watch the invisible witch's freaks, seemingly designed to annoy the family. The most influential early account is Martin Van Buren Ingram's 1894 book, An Authenticated History of the Famous Bell Witch. Ingram was a newspaper editor who claimed to have based his narrative on notes left by Richard Williams Bell, John's son writing decades earlier, and interviews with survivors. He presented it as events of historical fact, with incontrovertible evidence. Ingram's volume stitched together the lore into a chronological story. It names individuals, John, Lucy, Betsy Bell, neighbors like Kate Batts and Joshua Gardner, as real people. For example, Ingram explicitly identifies the spirit's alleged identity as Old Kate Batts, witch, and calls the poltergeist Kate. He details the noises, the attacks, and even quotes the Bell Witch's voice, taunting John Bell at his deathbed. Ingram's work is the foundation for almost every subsequent telling. As one writer notes, every retelling of the Bell Witch story relies on the same source text. Ingram's 1894 book. Historians caution that Ingram's book is not a contemporaneous journal. He wrote it some 60 years after the events, and critics argue it reads like a novel using real names. Ingram even included published excerpts from the 1886 Goodspeed and a 1930s WPA interview in an appendix, but these too were decades later. Some scholars view authenticated history as nascent folklore study, reflecting local beliefs of the 19th century. Others call it largely fictional. In any case, no independent 1820s document or court record of the haunting survives. The Bell family graves exist in Adams, but for the most part, our knowledge of the events comes from Ingram's narrative and hearsay he collected. Over time, the Bell Witch tale has been reinterpreted and retold in many ways. Some modern explanations treat it as a poltergeist or psychological phenomenon. Others seek a rational cause, e.g., mass hysteria, sleep paralysis, or even deliberate hoax. Still, it remains a staple of ghost folklore. Many popular media works draw on the legend. The haunting has been dramatized in films and books. Brent Monahan's 1997 novel, The Bell Witch, An American Haunting, formed the basis for the 2005 movie, An American Haunting, a supernatural thriller about Betsy Bell. Independent filmmakers have since made several horror films directly about the Bell Witch. Titles include Bell Witch Haunting and The Bell Witch Haunting, and documentary producers have revisited the story. For instance, Seth Breedlove's 2020 documentary The Mark of the Bell Witch recounts the legend and its purported true terror during the 5-year haunting. On television and stage, the Bell Witch persists as well. Paranormal reality shows have featured the Bell Witch Cave. For example, Ghost Adventures, Travel Channel, filmed an episode at the cave in Adams. A&E's short-lived 2015 series Cursed, the Bell Witch dramatized the legend through fictionalized Bell descendants. Locally, the story is celebrated each autumn in Tennessee. Adams hosts a month-long Bell Witch Fall Festival, complete with haunted tours and a musical play, Spirit: The Authentic Story of the Bell Witch, performed near the family cemetery. Even music and theater have been inspired. Composers and choreographers have created a Bell Witch cantata and ballet, and folk bands and singers have recorded songs about the legend. Despite variations, modern retellings almost always trace back to the original outlines. They reference the same characters, John, Betsy, Kate Batts, and events. Some add new twists. One theory casts the spirit as an enslaved black man's ghost. Another blames local schoolmaster Richard Powell for summoning the entity after being spurned by Betsy. Yet none of these ideas is confirmed. As one recent author notes, today SI storytellers simply spin the old yarn in new ways. The Bell Witch herself offered up any number of explanations, while dismissing them all. The Bell Witch case occupies a unique place in Tennessee and American folklore. It is often cited as one of the earliest well-documented American ghost stories. Folklore collections and history texts regularly include it as an example of 19th-century settler superstition. In Tennessee, it has become part of regional identity. The myth is mentioned on historical markers, taught in local tours, and discussed in state museums. Academics observe that the tale blends classic poltergeist elements, rapping noises, moving objects, disembodied voices, with southern frontier themes, land disputes, slaveholding society, religious fervor. Interestingly, the story even entered local legal lore. Tennessee tradition holds that John Bell's deathbed boast by the witch made it the only U.S. case officially recorded as a death by supernatural causes. In reality, no formal law recognizes ghosts, but the claim is often repeated as legend. In any case, the Bell Witch is deeply woven into Southern Gothic imagery. Her specter is blamed for Eastern Tennessee lore and first haunted house lists. Overall, the legend's enduring power comes from its blend of the uncanny with everyday life. It remains terrifying if it's true, but it isn't, as one skeptic quipped. Even those who doubt the facts find the story compelling. As travel and history writers note, the Bell Witch has captured imaginations and endures precisely because many retellings have made it a larger-than-life folktale. Today, the Bell Witch legend drives tourism and paranormal investigation in Adams, TN. The Bell Witch Cave and Farm on Bell family land is managed as a historic attraction. Visitors can tour the cave where the witch supposedly was strongest and learn the tale from guides. Tennessee tourism sites tout the cave as one of the most haunted places in America, noting that it was owned by John Bell and is at the very land that the Bell Witch tormented. Ghost hunting groups and TV crews frequently hold events on site. The cave has hosted public investigations and was visited by ghost adventures. Local organizers capitalized on the legend with the annual Bell Witch Fall Festival. Each October, theaters in Adams stage historical reenactments, called Smoke and Spirit, concerts and tours focusing on the Bell Witch story. Thousands attend these events, which underscore how the myth has become part of community heritage. In the academic and skeptical communities, interest continues as well. Folklore researchers study how the story evolved, while paranormal investigators return seeking evidence, so far none scientifically confirmed. In 2025, a public paranormal investigational event was even organized by a local group at the Bell Witch site. Such activities show that 2 centuries on, the Bell Witch legend still entices curiosity, whether as history, folklore, or a good ghost story. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.